Chairman, to take the last part first, and I said it at committee, this bill does not seek in any way to specify or prescribe the methodologies for any service that the state is providing. It is explicitly about the mechanism that's available for sharing information between two different bodies. So, Deputy O'Brien, and I want to thank you for your engagement. Your question is a question really for the Department of Employment and Social Protection, which we are not covering as part of this bill. But just to go back to the amendment, which is the one that's the one. Well, you can. She might provide the information on the way out. I can absolutely categorically say we are not specifying in this bill anywhere any mechanism for any service. It's entirely up to a line minister and their departments through legislation to prescribe those methodologies. But just in relation to Deputy Wallace's and Deputy Daly's amendment, and the last two lines are the most important. Verify their identity other than by presentation of a public services card or access to the person's public service identity. And I would remind people, the public services identity is defined as PPS numbers, surnames, forenames, date of birth, place of birth, sex, all farmer surnames, etc., etc. So if a person, or if we're now saying that we're going to delete that public service identity or in some way unpick that, well, how then do we find out who a person is? If all of this information, the public service identity, is gone out of the mix, how do we actually identify how a person is? And what we said in relation to the GDPR, and I've said this time and time again, you know, in fairness in the Seanad, we had a very good debate, and Deputy Daly is right in relation to necessary and proportionate, and we've actually absorbed that into the bill. But in relation to the GDPR actually requires data protection, and this bill has regard to the GDPR in a very strong way. So look, I don't want to rehash it, last Councillor. I think we've had a very good discussion, but I do want to finish up by saying that amendment number 5 would have the net effect of paralysing an awful lot of the delivery of services at the moment, and we will be speaking to them at further amendments again, and I know we've had a good discussion in relation to it already, but it would really result in the paralysis of the public service, because we would have no way of actually, the net result of this is we wouldn't be able to prescribe any methodology for any service to identify anybody, and how could we possibly deliver any service on the initiation of this bill?